All right. Assalamu alaikum. Can everybody hear me okay? If I can just see some thumbs up from those on screen. Okay, I see some nods. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. It
Alaikum
gives me a
salam.
lot of, Dr. Fawzi, gives me a lot of great pleasure to have this webinar in collaboration with AIWF. I'll talk a little bit about it in a second, but before that, I would really like to start and kick off this session with Dr. Mohammed Fawzi. He's our vice president of Saudi Pfizer. Please go off and start this session for us, Dr. Fawzi.
Thank you so much, Luma. So I'm very happy that this collaboration with Arab International Women Forum, this collaboration started years ago, actually, with my esteemed colleague here, Wala. I think she's the first one got the intro with the Arab International Women Forum. What is really important is in Pfizer Saudi, when we started the journey 3 years ago, it was very clear to us that the country is transforming massively in every single sector, driven by the Vision 2030. But a specific area that we felt like it's not a KPI, but it's an enabler for the entire vision, which is the women empowerment. Because I think that despite women in Saudi, probably they joined the field a little bit later on compared to some of the other countries around the world. But what we have seen in a very short period of time is nothing less of being exemplary in terms of how they are carrying themselves in the workplace and how they are moving forward to become quite senior. So I have got the chance to meet a couple of business women who are CEOs of companies and founders of companies here in Saudi. And I was more privileged every time I'm spending time with women colleagues, leaders in Pfizer Saudi. You can see two of them just right here. Luma, the category lead for I&I. Luma is managing entire department, which is the size of medium-sized company in Saudi. Salha, she's leading one of the very important functions, which is our external alliances with the Saudi government to create the PPP, the public-private partnership, which is another big theme of the Saudi vision. And we are investing heavily because we see that the more leaders that we can bring to the senior level and medium management level, the better off we will be as a company. And we started to gain some dividends from those investments. So Pfizer Saudi, we have been growing non-surprisingly over the last 2 years, probably one of the fastest. We are number one in terms of the market share as a Saudi company, Pfizer Saudi. I'm very proud to say that. But I don't see this is happening without significant contribution of almost 40% of our total cohort in Pfizer Saudi are talented women. So this type of forums that we are creating today, I think that it is adding up to what we are trying to do by putting our talented women into the right frame of mind, how they can pursue their career further. The reason I'm saying that, because we know it's not easy. We know it's not very easy to lean in, to raise your hand, to say that even if I'm not ready now, I still want to fight for this opportunity because I see a path in this company. And that's why the collective wisdom of this panel, I guess it can help all of them to have this right mindset to pursue their career further, not only as a corporate citizen in Pfizer serving patients, but as a rounded leader who is a mother, who is a partner in life, who is a friend, and as a leader in Pfizer as well, which is what I would consider a rounded leader. So this is something I wish to see more, and I cannot thank enough the Arab International Women Forum for being here with us today, and definitely big thank you to Wala for joining us today, because she is my role model. I have to say that I have a quite big bias, and please, whoever on the call, listen very carefully when Wala starts to speak, because you will see nuggets of wisdom Even until today, when I have something that I'm struggling with, she is my person to go. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Fawzi. I'm humbled. I'm truly humbled by the introduction, and we had the chance to meet the panelists, and I think I would personally be learning a lot from all of them today. I need to say to the Saudi organization, like your goal, you can visualize it already as achieved, because if the country president takes time to be with you today and sets the tone so clearly and powerfully, to me, these are the key ingredients to achieve the goal. And so congratulations to you. And I'm sure all of you know that once you can visualize success, you're already there. And to me, having Fawzi opening with such a strong remarks and commitment to the value of gender diversity, to me, I can already visualize where Pfizer Saudi will be in a very short time. So thank you, Fawzi, for that, and congratulations to Pfizer Saudi already for achieving that goal. So my name is Wala Alami. I am humbled and privileged to be with the colleagues, online, and with this incredible panel that as I said, we would all exchange and learn from each other. I am privileged today for 3 reasons. First of all, because I had the chance to, a couple of years ago, I need to recognize, but to see firsthand, as an Arab woman leader, I had the experience to experience firsthand what it means to work with Saudi leaders, both male and female. And I will be happy to share my experience of how I have been welcomed by the male leaders in Saudi and how I've been impressed by the female leaders that I have met in Saudi. So I'll be happy to share as a non-Saudi and be part of this panel as my perspective as an outsider to Saudi. The second, I have the privilege to be here as the global lead for Pfizer Women Resource Group, which is a group at Pfizer that works at a global level and with all the country and regions to make sure that we are creating a workplace where female have equal opportunities to thrive at work. And finally, I also have the privilege to be here as the vice chair of AIWF, the partner of DICO Saudi, on this series, and I'm sure we're starting today to discuss what we've learned are the main challenges that female in MENA are encountering and how this could be turned into opportunities in Saudi. So few words about AIWF. AIWF has been funded more than 20 years ago by Haifa Kailani, and we've been at Pfizer privileged to have this partnership ongoing for over a decade, mainly focusing on the role of Arab women in the healthcare, and doing several initiatives across the region to learn the specificities on female in the STEM industry, female leaders in healthcare, and really deliver some very valuable initiatives like the latest report that has been co-published between AIWF and the Middle East office around the challenges and some of the solutions that we are proposing to see this contribution of females, as Fawzi mentioned, being at the level that we know they need to have the impact we want to see. And I'm excited, Luma and Saudi DICO, about the opportunity to see this happening with a focus on Saudi because of the incredible opportunities that exist within the society, but also have female can contribute to have a meaningful impact, even more than what we have today. So very excited to be with you all and with the audience. And over to you, Luma.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wala. It's really a pleasure to have you and the rest of the panelists on board. So let me get started. First of all, I would like to thank the IWF for this collaboration. This is going to be actually one of the 3 sessions that we are going to be having with the AIWF. AIWF is a London-based international organization. It promotes women leadership, similar to what you had said, Wala. So it's actually great for us to have this partnership with Pfizer Saudi. In this series, we call it the DEI by design, or diversity, equity, and inclusion by design. It follows on from an outstanding partnership that we've had as Pfizer in the Gulf last year, where we had invited many women leaders across the sector to discuss topics of relevance to the different colleagues across, the UAE, Levant, etc. In fact, the report became quite a core publication, a flagship publication for Pfizer's Diversity Council, and we are really looking forward to have a similar experience in Pfizer Saudi. As mentioned, this is one of the three. We will be having a follow-up, inshallah, in September, and then another one in October, and then post that the report should be published early 2025. And without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our inspirational, I must say, panelist. Again, no introduction would actually do justice, and I will have the panelists introduce themselves in the way that suits them best. However, let's get started. First panelist is Dr. Hayat Sindi. Dr. Hayat Sindi is a Saudi medical scientist that focuses on medical testing and biotechnology. Remarkably, she holds 9 patents for a machine that combines the effects of light and ultrasound for use in biotechnology and early detection of breast cancer. She received the prestigious award, the Clinton Global Citizen Award for leadership in civil society in recognition for her work. And additionally, she was voted one of BBC's top 100 women in 2018. Not to mention, the World Academy of Sciences awarded her one of the TWAS medal lecturers in recognition of her achievements. Amazing to have you. We look forward to hearing your story. And thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Hayat. Additionally, we have Dr. Asil Nizi, a strategy manager for Unilabs. Dr. Asil holds a master's degree in human molecular medicine and a PhD in molecular immunology, both from Imperial College in London. Her main area of research focused on genetic and phenotypic markers of MS. Over the course of her research, Dr. Asil participated in a number of conferences across the EU and formed successful collaborations with university hospitals, laboratories, and not to mention the connections and extensive knowledge of hospitals in Saudi Arabia, where she was born and raised. Following on from her studies, Dr. Asil has worked in several private and NHS hospital projects in the UK as a health research consultant for over 10 years. She's passionate about helping others and bridging the gap between the Middle East and the West. And that's a key element to forming her own very startup, Wasal, which focuses on offering healthcare consultations and second opinions to international patients traveling to the UK and providing cultural awareness. We're so lucky to know this, but more recently, she has moved back to Riyadh. So we won one back in pursuit of exciting the 2030 developments. She has now taken on the role of strategy manager in Unilabs and hope to open up their offices in Saudi and providing healthcare solutions to the Saudi community. Next, we have Dr. Saleh Al-Momen, our very own Director of External Partnerships in Pfizer Saudi Arabia. For those who don't know, Dr. Saleh, she is actually a board-certified general surgeon. I was very happy to hear that the first time we've met, with a diverse background in clinical practice, healthcare policy, and scientific leadership. She had graduated from King Saud University College of Medicine, and following that, she had completed her residency in general surgery at King Faisal Specialist Hospital and Research Center. Saleh subsequently practiced general surgery for several years before transitioning to the Center of National Health Insurance. And in this role, she served as a senior surgical technology advisor, instrumental in establishing the Kingdom's Health Technology Assessment Center. Committed to learning and evolution within the changing healthcare landscape of Saudi Arabia, Saleh finally joined us in 2023, and well, we'll never let her go since then. Dr. Wala, I think Fawzi had conducted a very, very interesting introduction for you. I must say, he says that all the time. It wasn't just a passing comment. I've heard that several times from him already. But for everyone on the webinar, Dr. Wala is the global influenza lead for Pfizer and is also the AIWF vice chair. She's had over 20 years of experience in the healthcare, with approximately 18 of them in Pfizer. She's currently our global lead for influenza, and she's based out of Madrid. Prior to her current role, Wala had various leadership positions across Africa and Middle East. She first led Pfizer oncology business across the region and was instrumental in positioning the company, as you know, as a key player in advancing cancer care across the region. More recently, she has also led the Pfizer biopharmaceutical group in the Middle East across all Pfizer's therapeutic areas. Wala is a strong believer in the power of inclusive organization that allows colleagues to bring their best selves in all settings, and it's purposeful about their growth. She's a passionate advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, with a focus on advancing women in leadership and more recently on women from minority groups. She's the former Africa and Middle East chair of Pfizer Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council, leading Pfizer's efforts across different initiatives that aim to promote diversity and inclusion in the region. Wala, thank you so much for being here. It's our pleasure. It's an amazing opportunity for me to be introducing all of you. I hope I did the best that I can and did the justice required for your esteemed backgrounds. And without further ado, I will be, giving off the floor to Dr. Hayat Sindi to start off with her opening remarks. Dr. Hayat, مشكور على وقتك وحياتك.
شكرا لما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hello everyone. It's my great pleasure and honor to address you all today. So I'm different part of the world, so I just choose the word today. I don't know it's morning or afternoon or evening. I'm really humbled to be part of this panel after hearing all this amazing introduction for all of you. And I'm going to tell you a true story, not a fiction one, no, this is real. I'm a scientist, as Luma mentioned, and I have been involved in all aspects of science, technology, and innovation. From a young girl, I was inspired by science and its inventions, and what practically they can unlock for people's lives and creating tangible results. So I have been on a journey ever since. After high school, I was going through a major transition in my life. Moving to England, moving alone, different culture, different language, and different education standard. Many people in England and in Saudi, except my family, especially my father, told me I'm not going to make it and I'm going to fail. What did I say to myself then? I said, Hayat, no one can know the future and no one can. So follow your passion. And I said, Hayat, the universities are full of human beings, just like you. They can have an opinion about everything you do or have done. The way you look, the way you talk, the way you dress, where you come from, and what you want to be in the future, and the same way of thinking. But I said to myself, embrace the beauty of differences. Be proud of your identity. Life, of course, doesn't stop here, and you will face other types of challenges. Then I was lucky to get a full scholarship from University of Cambridge and do PhD in biotechnology. And I was still, it was and still a male-dominated field. They told me I'm only going to last 3 months. And also they said, religion doesn't go with science, it's not fashionable. Well, I graduated and I was recognized, received many offers and prizes from around the world. Even after I finished my PhD from Cambridge University in biotechnology and I went to Harvard, I wanted to bring science and society closer together, to deliver a low-cost health diagnostic tool to the needy, to the poor. But people still resisted, accused us of not doing science. So I said to myself, if I do believe in the power of innovation, don't stop for the poor. Guess what happened? After 2 years, we won Harvard's first prize on social innovation, and then MIT handed it. Science for me is unlimited, and what we can do and achieve for our civilization is unlimited. I would say social innovation has helped me to see through this complex world. Nowadays, science is different. Not the space shuttles of years gone by, but the new biotechnology, nanotechnology shaping our world. Science is becoming more human. In some areas of the developing world, poor people are deprived from the benefit of science and technology could change their lives. So we must aim science at the tools to get that impact. Customize science to people's needs, their infrastructure, and way of life. So from the start, science links to society. When I was at Harvard, I always said to myself, what of my education and of my training can I bring back home to my country? Well, I started Institute for Imagination and Ingenuity for Youth in the Middle East to create an ecosystem of entrepreneurship and social innovation for scientists, engineers, and technologists to fulfill their potential. People will try to stop you and say it's impossible, but with the right tools and the right spirits, change is possible. I came from a traditional family in Mecca with enormous love for knowledge, no luxury, but I'm now one of the 10 UN appointed scientific experts, TG, one of the first 30 Saudi women appointed by the King of Saudi Arabia to be part of the Parliamentary Council, a National Geographic Emerging Explorer, an honorary fellow at Newnham Cambridge University. Today, as well as a scientist, I'm also the UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for STEM for Women and lead the Institute for Quality. I target most challenging problems to help build social innovation ecosystem. As an explorer, generating expertise across fields, moving from pharmacology, biotechnology, social innovator, advisor, and investor, I wanted to say and highlight. Used for COVID is an outstanding achievement in medical field to help humanity. Messenger RNA technology is a great platform that we can deploy locally for the future. We now have potential to solve cancer, Alzheimer's, and other diseases. The world has changed. Young boys and girls need to get the scientific message, be confident, start breaking barriers, breaking boxes. We need to be flexible thinkers. And also keep in mind, not only official academic scientists have great scientific thoughts. Remember, Einstein was not a scientist, mathematician, or physicist, but a patent clerk. At Harvard Business School, I kept pushing past others' limits. I was the scientist outside the box. I had no false limit. I believe if you can imagine it, everything is possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. And I'm really happy that this session is recorded, right? Because parts of this we should possibly play back before we go to sleep or when we wake up in the morning to remind ourselves. Thank you so much. This was excellent. Next, we move on to yet another incredible scientist, lead, Dr. Asil. تفضلي.
Thank you, Lama. I'm really humbled and I'm honored as well to be part of this amazing and inspirational panel. Dr. Hayat, I'd love to see you when you're back, inshallah, bisalama. It was really, thank you so much for sharing your wonderful story. Very happy to be here. Very happy to see some familiar faces. Wala, I know we've also shared a similar talk a couple of years ago on a topic that I'm sure is very close to your hearts as much as it is to mine. So thank you, Pfizer, for taking the initiative and shedding the light on this very, very important topic that we're discussing today. By way of introduction, my name is Asil. You can call me Asil. I'm Saudi, living in Riyadh. For those of you living in Riyadh right now, I hope everyone's coping with the heat. I guess summer has officially hit the kingdom now, so trying to keep cool is a must. Getting a bit personal, I guess you could say from a very young age, I've always had a knack for problem solving and analyzing situations. This has shaped almost my decision to choose the PhD topic that I've decided to pursue at Imperial in London, where I've decided to look at the genetic analysis of a particular disease that struck a very sad chord in me. For those of you who don't know MS, as Luma mentioned in my bio, multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune disease that affects mostly young females and affects the nervous system. I was fortunate enough to work with an amazing group of doctors and scientists at Imperial, whereby we tried to not only understand the cause and onset of disease, but also how to mitigate the progression and increase the quality of life of patients who otherwise would be required to have the assistance of a wheelchair, of a walking aid later on in life. This whole approach really shaped the person that I am today, because patient care, quality of care was in the heart of everything we were doing. Trying to introduce new methods and diagnosis to help increase the quality of life and prolong disease progression really gave me a good experience and kick-started my career path. As much as I enjoyed, though, my time in research in the lab, I also felt passionate about dealing with clients directly. And I started noticing, if I can call it, an entrepreneurial flair in my approach. So I sought to nurture this impulse, and this led me to form my startup, Wisal, as you mentioned, Luma, and consultancy in London, whereby I was helping a lot of international patients and healthcare providers in the UK bridge the cultural gap in order to reach an informed medical decision and increase the efficiency of the consultations. Fast forwarding to the pandemic, which I agree with Dr. Hayat was an incredible year for science and technology, and we've seen a lot of advancements in the form of the vaccines and trying to understand the virus and other causes. I was presented with the opportunity to come back to Saudi in light of all the exciting Vision 2030 developments happening. And it's true what they say about timing is everything. I also was fortunate enough to meet a multinational group who also had intentions and plans to expand in KSA. So I am very excited for Unilabs' plans, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the team spirit, and I'm confident that we'll be able to provide some truly exceptional diagnostic solutions to the Saudi community. So now that I'm actually in Saudi and upon my move here, I was able to experience firsthand the challenges that I'm sure a lot of you, I'm sure would resonate with a lot of you fellow speakers here. Just to summarize a few, because I'd like this to be reflective on what I've seen. The first challenge that I faced here is actually the fast pace of change. Similar to what Dr. Fawzi was saying at the beginning, Saudi Arabia is undergoing a considerable change, an exciting change in the past few years, especially when it comes to women. We are now able to drive, something that I'm enjoying on a daily basis right now. We're able to issue our own ID documents. We're able to start our own business. But most importantly, we're starting to see many more females in being hired in more senior leadership positions in various sectors across the economy. Now, I'm sure everyone remembers that this change didn't just happen overnight, and that previously the government has invested a lot in its youth by way of scholarships, like Dr. Hayat has mentioned, and I've been also a result of one of the scholarship programs. And the result of these programs and initiatives was that you have now a very educated and ambitious group of young generation who are determined to make a valuable contribution to this ongoing Vision 2030 transformation project. Now, the onus is on us now, and we have the responsibility to embrace these new projects, to familiarize ourselves with the new structures, with the new opportunities available across all the industries that are just there and up for grabs. We need to include these new policies in our work life and our personal life as well. Otherwise, having the change and not using it just defeats the whole purpose of riding the wave. So this is the first challenge that I found, and I'm still adapting to all the wonderful new solutions that are being presented to us. The second challenge is obviously something I'm sure we'll talk about in more detail, is the cultural gap. Now, me being here representing an international company during these exciting times has been and is continuing to be a highly stimulating and continuous learning curve on how to deal with a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different situations that involve bridging a culture and communication gap in order to achieve a more business goal that you have in mind. For example, during a lot of business meetings that we conduct, we find that a lot of members of the society here are non-confrontational. For example, off the top of my head. So any disagreements need to be dealt with in a diplomatic manner. You need to showcase your communication, your understanding, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed taking the challenge, and the way I see it, to conclude, is that any challenge should be taken as an opportunity to grow and also showcase your leadership skills and just make the most of it and shine. But I'll stop right there because I'm sure we'll delve more into it. But thank you so much for the opportunity to talk and introduce myself, and I'll hand it over to you, Luma. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this introduction. It's really, I think it's going to be a struggle for us to figure out who's outdone themselves more than they should. So it's thank you so much for this introduction. Dr. Salha, off to you. Thank you so much for being with us, and we can't wait to hear your story.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on this panel. I am beyond honored and humbled. I loved hearing all of the stories, and I can't wait to reconnect after all of this is over. This is not just one panel that is going to end. Just a little bit of a background. Most of people on the call know my name, but those who don't know, my name is Salha. Luma did a pretty thorough job of introducing my background, so I'm not going to repeat my history, but I am going to focus on the learnings from my history. As you've heard, I tread different waters throughout my career, starting with being a doctor, finishing med school. I wouldn't say that was very much of a challenge, because at the time when I was getting my degree, there were a lot of women in med school and empowered to go into medicine. The challenge came after graduation and going into the career world. The first challenge was choosing my specialty. Being a surgeon as a female was not very popular. I was told, and there were attempts to deter me from becoming a surgeon from multiple areas, particularly those who were my mentors and my teachers. But despite that, I found a way to compete, graduate, showcase my resilience, and showcase what a female surgeon is capable of, to shed light on what females, the the special qualities that female doctors can bring to the team of caregivers. My residency taught me a lot about self-management, about resilience, and about dealing with patients. The stories and the human connection that I forged with patients was graved into my DNA, and that became my lifelong goal. I started looking at myself not just as a healthcare provider, a service provider, but more of a healer. I thoroughly enjoyed being with patients at their most vulnerable. And that also fueled my passion to provide the best care possible for them. During my career and while I was advancing in my career, I started having the appetite to having more impact, not just on one patient that comes in the clinic and leaves the clinic, but maybe on larger scale. That grew up to my passion to have larger systematic impact on patients. This coincided with the transformation and the huge change that is happening in the health sector. So I thought this was, and Dr. Asil mentioned timing was everything. That was the perfect opportunity for me to take that passion and put it at a larger scale. Building new systems that empower our patients and better serve them was a huge experience that I had. But that was also a different kind of environment that I had to navigate. And that was one of the challenges. The purely clinical world is quite accepting, I found, for female contribution, but beyond the pure clinical world, when it comes to policy, when it comes to management, when it comes to leadership, there were a lot of closed doors, despite empowering the conversation starting about empowering women. Being included in spaces that empower and enable women to have effective leadership and decision-making was a challenge to navigate. And then moving on again from public sector to the private sector and navigating that different environment is another learning curve. So the challenges here were to how to become more resilient and to change and to develop new skills. I think it's continuous for me. The learning will always be continuous, and finding an environment that fosters growth and is supportive, I think is the key to battle all of the challenges. Thank you, Luma.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for being here. And I must tell you, every time I sit with you in a meeting, I actually do picture you as a surgeon and try to act with you accordingly. It's a pretty interesting sight to have once you actually realize that you're a surgeon. So يعطيك ألف عافية دكتورة صالحة. And Dr. Wala, an honor and a pleasure to have you. Please.
The honor is all mine. What a humbling, panel. I was getting goosebumps, which does not happen quite often to me. But listening to the stories of actually trailblazers, women is really inspiring, and I'm sure the audience that we have with us today, but also those that will be watching, the recording will feel just exactly the same. So I wanted to share my story from a different angle, and I think Dr. Hayat started, very well talking about it, because oftentimes when we speak about our career journey, we go back either to, our leadership journey, we go back often to career or academy, etc. And I wanted to start my journey of leadership. I would say when I reflect on it, I think my leadership journey started when I was 10 years old. And when I was 10 years old, I will share with you this personal story. I was raised, so we are only two, my brother and I. I'm the eldest, and I was raised by parents that gave the same rights to me as my brother, the same opportunities. I have never felt that he had more chances or opportunities that I had. And so de facto, this is how I was raised, equal. And that's the world in which, as a child, I grew up. So I had no bias built in from a very early age. The second thing, then, when I reflect about my childhood, as I'm a mother as well, and I'm trying to take the key learning and see what I can do and take from that experience. I was raised by parents that actually involved us in decision making, and I'm talking about how 10 years old felt. So that would be simple things like going on vacation, what will be the destination? And believe it or not, I'm sure they had a nice way to make us believe that we had an input and influence on the decision, but this is how it felt. And so starting from 10 years old, I grew up with my voice matters. And when I use it, rightfully, I can impact decisions that matter to me. And so that was the second thing that I always, take when I reflect on that. The key takeaway that I think shapes who I am today, and I will pause on it to say why it matters, is and I think that Dr. Hayat mentioned this very, very, very right, and I have this in common with her. Starting from age 17, I was asked to go abroad to run by myself as a big girl, and just figure out how we will do it. Now, when I reflect and my parents tell me how they were feeling about it, nevertheless, they really pushed me into the wild to discover what empowerment means. And as all the panelists, as we think about the academic paths, etc., I was also pushed to dream big. So why go for the university that is easy, where you can get to the best? And so this is how my leadership journey started that year, when I was 10 years old. And I think it matters to female that are either mothers or becoming mothers, but also male colleagues. When we think about female leaders today, I want to make sure that we think about it very early on, because what we tell to the 5, 6, 10 years old that we have at home will shape how they see themselves and how they envision their life moving forward. And I wanted to start with that. So that young leader started her life with self-confidence, no mind bias or gender bias built in. And of course, when you face the wildlife out there, you realize that people have the right to see the world through a different lens. And of course, the journey to either in academic to be successful. So I pursued PhD in pharmacy. I studied in Paris. And I decided while pursuing my PhD that I wanted to do a double study. So I pursued as well in parallel business school because I realized that I love science, but I was also good in business. So I combined the science with business because I wanted to see how we can not only understand very well the value of science, but how can we make it, sustainable to bring it to patients and having an impact on society, patients, and economy. And then my journey into the workspace started. And as I mentioned, I really would like, as a non-Saudi on this panel or non-Khaliji on this panel, I really want to say that throughout my career, I have lived and worked in many countries. So I had a long tenure in Africa and Middle East, worked on all African countries from Morocco to South Africa, all Middle Eastern countries. And then I had the opportunity to work now in a global setting. So I work with different cultures, and I have led all Western European countries for a couple of years, in the past. Why does it matter what I'm saying? Because female that are willing to pursue leadership opportunities face all type of challenges. They just don't have the same name, right? So I want to say this because this Saudi society has its own challenges, but each woman that you meet out there, be it from Asia or be it from Europe, is faced with a different type of challenges. And I find the challenges that are clear, like in your face, they are very clear, in a way better to comprehend than many of the challenges that I have seen in other parts of the world where they are unconscious bias, where they're insidious. And it's not easy to point your finger on what is it exactly that you're faced with to be able to overcome that. So what do we do with that? You know, if I am a woman that has ambition, that has aspirations, and that want to contribute, you know, beyond what currently is offered to me, I would say a couple of key takeaways that I carry with me and that I continue to nourish. First one is, as I told you, what actually equipped me at a very young age, which is self-confidence. Self-confidence does not mean that you don't have imposter syndrome. Self-confidence does not mean that you don't have doubts. It means that when these voices, internal or external, come to you, you overcome them. So that you stay focused on the value that you know you can bring to whatever you are pursuing. That's the first one. The second one is resilience, because we have to face it, no matter what the society is, no matter what are the cultural norms, if you are willing to pursue daring dreams, there will be roadblocks. And so it's important from the start to be prepared for a long game that will be actually full of obstacles. But once you know that it's not going to be easy and you are daring and you want to pursue it, I really think that resilience is something that you have to fuel and nurture continuously. The third one, I have 5 points and I will conclude with that. I know Luma has a busy, you know, agenda to cover. The third one, and I think you've heard it from all the panelists, it's really invest in yourself, because I find oftentimes that as women, you know, we think that opportunities do not come, etc. Well, once you invest, you know, in yourself to not only, you know, do the required education, etc., but continuously evolve, gives you always an edge over, you know, the surrounding, and gives a rational case oftentimes to the naysayers, because you have, you know, invested in yourself and there is value that you can bring to all the discussions. The third one, the fourth one is a fourth one. The fourth one is never pursue your dreams alone, because when, you know, when we are faced with challenges, it's always important to have already pre-identified mentors, peers, allies that you go to when you're down, so that you get, you know, inspiration. Oftentimes, those that have been raised with that fighter mindset, that I can do it all, think that they have to do it all. And I have learned it that the more you tap into resources, family support, if you have to travel and, you know, the family is nothing very, friends, colleagues, mentors, etc., just gives you more, you know, that more strength than what you can have by yourself. And the final one is pay it forward, because it gives just more purpose to the growth journey as a woman if you are not on it alone. And so I think me being here with you, being part of AIWF, you know, doing all the other work that I like to do, is just my way to say, you know, I have learned a lot. I continue to learn every day, but it's really better if we, you know, work together as a female community and support each other. So paying it forward is also a very important key takeaway from me on the journey. So Luma, these are the 2 cents that I wanted to share to complement what the amazing panelists have said.
Thank you so much. And I, you know, I when you were talking, it meant so much when you had said, you know, these challenges are universal, right? It's not a Saudi women challenge. It's a, you know, universal women challenges.
Because
we
it
are
can
going
create
to
mind
face
barriers, Luma. It can create mind barriers, and it's super important. Those that make it the furthest are those that do not let their mind be blocked. So I thought it was very important, because I hear it very often with my friends in Saudi, in Khadija, etc. The society, yes, but other societies have different types of issues. I think it's important not to overestimate, you know, it's real, but it's not something we cannot overcome.
100%. And I just want to sum up everything that you all had said. And thank you so much. It was really inspiring. And I didn't want to interrupt anyone. And it doesn't matter how long we take. But you know, to sum it up, there was a proverb that I was reading about actually today, out of coincidence, and it was, you know, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor, right? Expect adversity, you know, expect and accept that there will be challenges. It doesn't matter what your gender is. I understand that there is an unconscious bias, to your point, Wala, when it comes down to women. But you know what? It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter where you come from. You will face adversity, and in order for you to reach places, you're going to have to find a way to get through all of them with all of the tips that you had mentioned. So I want to thank you all. It was super inspirational to hear each of you speak, and I'm sure that everybody on the call really benefited from the story, and I'm sure they're as inspired as we all are, right, with each other. Given the time, though, I'm going to have to limit the questions that I'm able to ask all of you. So you know, I do apologize in advance, but I want to get right into it because I think there are a couple of questions that are quite important for us to address if possible. And Dr. Hayat, you know, you started off as our first speaker, so I'm going to target this question to you if that's okay. And the question is, what would you consider to be the key strategies that the healthcare companies, hospitals, research centers, or, you know, any establishment, that what can they do to actually implement? I mean, what can they implement? Sorry, to support women's confidence and capacity, you know, towards building their career progression and senior leadership in the health profession overall. So, what can we do? What can the different institutions do to support that?
Thank you for the question. It's a really important question. And I, as a strategy and policy maker as well, I also listened to Fawzi and Dr. Wala. The remark that, you know, Saudi Arabia is transforming so fast, and without this transformation or the set of the leadership, it won't be easy for any private sector or industry to progress. So I think it's need to change the mindset at homes, at school, through teachers, parents, government, policy, and also industry, the whole ecosystem. And just referring back to what Dr. Wala mentioned, you know, today it's only 30% of this is statistic, this is fact, you know, 30% of the world researchers, that's including medical field, are by women. And in Saudi Arabia, this is also a UNESCO fact, is only 1% of the female, even though they go to science and engineering and medicine, one of them they go to pursue to have a job in the private sector, even though they'd like to stay as doctors and also to be academia, but to pursue that to be in industry is only 1%. And so for me, the recipe, because as I mentioned, is the whole ecosystem or the journey for female through a role model, as we all mentioned. And this is very crucial. And you mentioned family also, Dr. Awala, and this is important because this is to be part of the family as like a part of the living sustainable world. So we need to start that from home. And thinking of that, we need to really emphasize to our graduates the importance of science as a human impact, not just that's dry. And I have to hear a flag back to what I've said about the mRNA vaccine. I really know Pfizer is working hard to harness the power of messenger RNA, because this is in the next wave of of healthcare invention, and it's likely opening a door for us as scientists, as for genetic diseases, for cancer. Now is already people using this type of technology, especially Moderna, using the similar technology, and also here in Cambridge, they start using that type of technology for cancer, Alzheimer's. And I think it's a revolution, and the technology is remarkable because it's going to alter the software of one of the 10 experts for SDG. When I used to travel the world, and I was the head of the Science, Technology, and Innovation department. I established a department in the Islamic Development Bank. So I work with multilateral bank. I work with World Bank, IMF. When you go and visit the labs, and women, and I did a study, like to be a doctor straight away because they want to see this hand. This is our nature. This is what we're made up. But SDG, when you tell them, if you are going to be an amazing engineer, you're going to clean water, you're going to save 3 to 4 million children die every year. If you are going to design a portable machine to as an MRI in rural area, women loved it. So including social innovation includes a purpose, but they call it investment with purpose. I think is a crucial, even for Pfizer from now, to train that type of mindset, within their own pharma company. And also, we need to support women to be in international and national policies. I think when you mentioned also, Dr. Wala, Harvard, the business school, I think every scientist and engineer and medical doctor need to have a crash business course because I was no idea how can I take my invention from the lab in George Whiteside lab to be there in hand of the community if I didn't go to Harvard Business School. They pushed me there. I felt stupid for the first 3 months, but I break the code because as a scientist, I went to the best university. I went to Cambridge, best colleague around you, and you have unlimited funding. But how about you feeling people? How about you understand the real world? How are you going to speak to investors? How are you going to create your team? How are you going to know what to execute? What will be how are you going to get, the money to organize the money for in terms of the, for your research? So that's important to also have women in the international and national, because if we have women to direct the future of science, we won't have a laser killer beam, we won't have fast car. I ask, a bunch of men and a bunch of women about artificial intelligence. If you have a bunch of artificial intelligence, what are you going to do with it? I asked men. They said we will use it for in war zone, which is understandable to save life. I asked women, guess what they said? I use it for tests for Ebola or COVID. Both of them saving lives, but this is the mentality. We need women empathy, women emotion at the best campus for true innovation. Also, we need also to remove false limitations. Lord Kelvin said there is nothing to be discovered after after now. That's in the next century, and he said X-ray will prove to be hoax, but of course he was wrong. So that's type of give the as I mentioned when I mentioned about Einstein. Einstein, he was not a just a scientist. He was a patent clerk, but innovation, if you need to break the barrier, let the youth and let people to dream about anything they want, any idea they want to bring to life. Give them the freedom and the tools to do that, because the true break innovation come from the local, come from the and that's what is the message for pharma, and that's for healthcare. So I think that's type of to remove false limitation, start as an ecosystem, and also within the company, because I think COVID, when I was like an Islamic Development Bank, and we had 57 countries, and except the Gulf, running for to borrow money to overcome this challenge. We all know, even the most industrial country, innovation was missing from the healthcare. So we need to have the type of culture within the pharma to encourage innovation, so that will attract more women to be part of the changing mindset. And also, very important point mentioned by Dr. Wala, mentorship. I think, pharma company to be feasible from this young, from their when the girls start learning, because they need to be feasible. They need to give them opportunity. As I mentioned, they didn't tend to go to type of career because they find it, you know, what is for me? I want to be a doctor. I want to have a see straight away the effect on people. But pharma need to have a huge job by inclusion, by thinking about the needy as well, how they're going to invest in the local and give them a leadership. And I think Pfizer, you know, by you guys, what I heard, doing a good job. And one more last, you know, advice from me. You know, I always treat my mind as a garden. You know, cultivating the good things and the beautiful things, and we need to always get to the negativity and bad thoughts, because the greatest mind always had positive energy. And the other message: always surround people with the people who believe in you, even if you don't understand what you do. That's important. And the last message: I'm not always scared to work with other people. So it doesn't matter 1,000 miles or 1,000 years, you always find people just like you and me. So it's important to be really train women from a young age, or to be, you know, working together. And one thing, we always say this is a male-dominated field, but men, my father gave me, you know, Allah yarhamu, he was an amazing and special model for me. But also women needed to help other women. That is very crucial. And entitlement, somebody say, I'm entitled to something. No, really, we need to work hard. We need to improve ourselves all the time. So pharma need to really make sure that they can understand about the culture, take into consideration values, make things work. When I started Transform Fund with the Islamic Development Bank for $500 million, for example, in Pakistan, culture like Pakistan culture, you know, majority women, even amazing, they get married, they don't want them to be a part of the mixing. So pharma company, a drug company, to work out of the box. We invented in creating digital platform, and we employ thousands and thousands of female doctor, and they, because we created for them the environment. So I want to just the pharma think out of the box, how they channel their ideas, and that they you know, are to accommodate, you know, values. Sometimes, you know, innovation sometimes can stop by certain culture, certain religion, and we need to really take in consideration other people point of view. Nothing is cut and paste. Sorry if I took long, but I have so much experience in things. If I can take like another hour to tell you what it works, what it doesn't work. But of course, mashallah, we have a great leadership within the Pfizer, and of course Asil, I heard, and Dr. Salha, and you also, Lama.
Thank you so much. That was very, very rich. I really appreciate it. And I saw, you know, Wala, Salha, and Asil, like, you know, nodding the whole time and agreeing with everything that you said. And so was I, and I'm sure everybody that was listening to us. So thank you so much for your insights. We are over time. So a lesson for me is to ensure that next time we do schedule a lot longer of a session. Clearly we have a lot to talk about, and the excitement is overbearing. So I'm so happy to see all of this. I do apologize. I have to close the session just out of respect to our speakers' time and our facilitators' times. But, you know, just a couple of closing remarks. Really, you know, first of all, thank you all. Thank you for each of our speakers, for panelists, for joining us. Thank you for the trust that you've given us, and you know, to tell your stories, to inspire the upcoming generations, you know, from Pfizer, from Pfizer, not just. And by the way, I was looking at the participants. They're not just women; they're also men. So I was very happy to see that, because, you know, we're here as a community. As mentioned, this is one of the first, this is the first out of the 3 that we're going to be having in the next coming months. We'd love to have all of you again at some point. Thank you so much once more. I know I've thanked you quite a bit, but I feel like I'm not doing you justice. So appreciate having you, and we look forward to seeing you all and collaborating with you in the future. يعطيكم ألف ألف عافية. ما قصرتوا, and see you soon. شكرا جزيلا. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
الله
Thank
يعافيك.
you.
شكرا
Was
نور.
a
مع
pleasure.
السلامة.
مع السلامة. باي باي.
شكرا. It was a pleasure. يعطيكم العافية. مشكورين.
الله
Thank
يعافيك.
you.
باي باي. باي.